Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. In today's video, we are talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 5, The Truth. If you can, like and subscribe. And also joining is Luke.
Hey.
What was your thoughts about the episode in general?
It was good. It was a good episode. It wasn't quite what we thought after discussing last week. We had this idea that we're probably going to find out who the power broker was, but I think now we've got more options of who it could be, so we're left on another cliffhanger. But it was kind of your stereotypical
set up for the next one.
Yeah, and it was like what you would expect in a superhero movie, like the training montage and it was an atypical superhero kind of movie or show. So it was a very good episode. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good, more character focused episode, focusing on Bucky and Sam developing as a team, and then Sam kind of realizing that he's decent for the job, but I don't know if he's the best. But sometimes you don't need to be. Sometimes you just sometimes are called upon.
There's a lot that happened in the episode. It had maybe other episodes had a bit more action, but this episode had lots of characters in it and lots of different scenes. So it was probably the most busiest episode we've had so far.
Yeah.
So where do we start off first?
Basically, John Walker running from the actions that he did in episode 4 with smashing the shield into the leader of the Flag Smashers, Kate's friend, and then he's running into the factory, and then Sam and Bucky catch up, and then you can see the effects of the serum have changed his mindset to be kind of not as good as Steve Rogers' Captain America. What I think is kind of better in a way. You don't want characters being the same. It kind of makes stuff more interesting.
You wonder where does this version of Captain America go from here? They've set him up to be somewhat of a villain. Well, he's done one bad thing, and it was to a bad person. But now, does he seek revenge on Sam and Bucky because they took the shield? Are they setting up to be an ongoing villain, or does something happen and he goes back to being good and he stays as Captain America? Who knows? I'm sure we'll find that out in the next episode. Where do you think it's likely to
go? With his character? We'll see if they want to use him for other properties, or if it's just this series. I think it will be good if they use him for other things.
I have a feeling he won't be a villain in the end. He still will do something bad, or try and seek revenge on Bucky and Sam, but I think overall it's set up that he might become a good guy and somehow help out the Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future movies or shows. So we're left with that, and then there's a pretty cool fight scene.
Yeah.
Tell us about
it. Well, Bucky and Sam give him opportunity to give up the shield, but he's kind of, the shield's become his precious, and then, they have a free 2-on-1 fight, and then, Bucky's kind of got more of can at least fight in an equal way. Sam does his best, but it's mainly Bucky and John Walker more squaring off. And John Walker seems to have the advantage, takes the wings off, and then is about to hit Sam's face again, and then Bucky saves him.
It seemed like Sam was stronger than Bucky. I don't know why that would be. Maybe he has a different dose of the serum, but he seemed to just have a bit more strength over Bucky. But then when they eventually got the shield
John
off him.
Walker.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it seemed like Bucky had a bit more. Seemed like John Walker had more strength than Bucky did.
Mm.
But then when they eventually took the shield off him, then it seemed like Bucky had the upper hand. But I don't know. It was a good fight scene. Again, it showed that unless you're a super soldier or have some kind of powers, you're not that useful. You can give someone all the gadgets in the world, but they can still just rip them off you like they did with Sam in this scene.
Mm.
And then where are we left with at the end of the fight?
Bucky leaves and drops the shield, and then John Walker's knocked out unconscious, and then Sam grabs the shield and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next scene is the CVC getting the refugees and also the Flag Smashers so they can locate the Leader K.
Yeah, they're very much trying to work out where Carly's at in this episode. And yes, as you mentioned, they go back to their little base and Sam's got the shield, and it seems as though John's been taken capture and he's going to face the consequences of his actions, which is what happens in the next scene.
The military friend says to them that you're being benched. It's become more of a government issue, and then he says, "Oh, do you want your wings back?" And then he's like, "No, I got the shield now." And then Bucky goes and Sam's like, "Oh, you're going to go and get Zemo," but he doesn't really say anything. And then Sam, the next scene he goes and see Isaiah, and then but the next scene we go is with Bucky in where Zemo grew up.
Yeah. So they kind of split off on their separate paths. So you got John going to court, facing his consequences. We have Bucky looking for Zemo, going to Sokovia, and then we have Sam going to Isaiah to try and find some truth or clarity around what happened. So tell us what happened with the Bucky scene first.
Well, he shows up, and then we see like this memorial or like statue, and then Zemo and Bucky have a conversation. Then Zemo says, "You're gonna have to do basically capture or kill the Flag Smashers and Carly." And then Bucky faces a gun, and then you see the bullets drop.
Yeah, he says, I don't know if you noticed, but Zemo said something that was a bit funny. He goes, didn't he say something like, "Oh, I won't kill you," to Bucky? And it was like, "Oh, well, I don't think you're going to be able to kill Bucky, Zemo." And then you see the gun. I thought at first it was Zemo that had the gun, but then it shows Bucky and he pulls the gun up and he pulls the trigger, and Zemo thinks he's been shot. But then you see the scene where he drops the bullets out of his hands. And then what's the twist in that?
He's giving him up to the Wakandans.
And he asks them for a favour, or two favours.
Yeah. We don't know what that is, but Zemo says you can tick me off your list. I understand why you did it.
Yeah, because Zemo had knows about Bucky's little booklet of people that he wants to, say sorry to for things he's done in the past, and hope that they'll cure his nightmares. And where's John at? So we mentioned he's in court. Tell us about his scene.
Well, basically he's got a harness on, and then the politician, the government official, is basically saying he's going to be demoted. He's not going to have the title captain, and he's going to be without any government help, and he's going to be retired. And John Walker does bring up a good point. Like, I do what you tell me to do, and you train me, and I basically do your bidding, and then I'd make one mistake. What was a terrible mistake, and then it's like they don't even hear his side of the story. So he gets dishonorably discharged. They say that he's going to hold no rank and no title in retirement,
and he won't get any benefits. And then, yeah, he makes that good point, but
Yeah.
I guess you look at it, he took a serum that they didn't create or approve, so he is in a way a risk to them. So even at any point, even if he didn't commit a crime, they would have to say you are a risk because you've now got powers that we didn't authorize and we don't know what you're going to do. Where Steve Rogers was a bit different. They selected him and he went through a long process, which so did they with John, but it was a bit different. They didn't intend for him to have powers. They just wanted him to have the title.
Well, look what happened to Isaiah. He tried to do the right thing and he went to prison.
Yeah, and that obviously they make a big thing about that relating to the color of his skin, and not that I disagree, but is that Marvel just trying to be part of the Black Lives Matter movement and sometimes adding in a story just for the sake of it? And if it raises awareness, it's a good thing. But is it just sometimes are they just doing it to tick a box, or do they really mean it?
Yeah, he is a pretty interesting character, Isaiah, but with the John Walker trial, he you could tell the effects of the serum have kind of changed him as a person, as a character.
Yeah, they really pass him off as though he's a bit evil or like he's a bit, like crazy, and that he could do anything at any moment. But it does question me that they discharge him, but again, he walks around now with super strength and powers of some sort. Like what's to prevent him from going out and just hurting people?
Nothing really.
Yeah, would you think they would be a bit more worried about that, given what he'd just recently done? Like they took the shield off him, like, wow, he'd go find another weapon or make another weapon.
Well, how the trial ends is the politicians like, oh, you got to give us the shield back, but as the audience and as the cameo we see, she knows and he knows he doesn't have the shield.
Which you'd think, wouldn't they know that when they arrested him? They'd be like, well, there's no shield here. Yeah. And what they didn't see, Sam walking around with this suspicious looking bag that's perfectly the shape of the shield that he keeps walking around with.
Yeah.
So, and then mentioning Sam and Isaiah, where are they at? They're having a scene at the same time as what's happening with these other two scenes.
Basically, Sam wants more answers about Isaiah and his time. Well, Isaiah's a pretty interesting character. Like, he spoke about how the government have messed. They were told it was some sort of different topaz or something. It was something different, and then they were lied to, and he went on a mission to get his buddies back, and he was the only one that survived. And then they had a conversation about, oh, you know what I got in here, and Isaiah with the stripes, that's all for the white man, and no respecting black man would want to carry the shield. So pretty interesting conversation.
So from that, what I made out was that, yeah, there's Isaiah and a bunch of other soldiers, which, do we assume they were also of colour? Do we assume that they also had dark skin like him? I think that's what they may have been implying, and that they were told that they were getting their tetanus shots, but then they were actually getting injected with the serum, and he said that some of them at work, they got strengths, but then they died, and he was the only one that was fine. He got a different strain of it. And then he mentions how he then, after serving in war and doing what they wanted, they imprison him, and then they do tests on him the whole time to try and work out what he
shows the mark on his body. Yeah,
to try and work out what he had, why it worked on him, and then that backs up the story of how the doctor in the previous episode, he said he used to work for Hydra, and they somehow got the serum and were testing it, so they got it from Isaiah's blood, I guess, somehow. But yeah, Isaiah has his whole speech about how he wouldn't want to have anything to do with Captain America, and he's almost angry at Steve Rogers as though it was his fault that this happened to him. But as Sam points out, that Steve wouldn't have known. That's not something Steve would do.
Yeah, Bucky knew, I believe. Bucky didn't even tell Steve.
Yeah, so Bucky knew because he fought him as an enemy opposed to being an ally or anything. So they came fought against each other at some point. But again, it's just I think Marvel's trying to set up a showing that their acknowledgement of like what's happening in America with Black lives and the way Black people are treated. So yeah, it's good for them to put it in, and then again they carry that story along with Sam and talking about his community and where he lives and yeah, so it's it's a cool concept.
Did you like the cameo scene when John Walker and his wife were sitting down on the chair, and then we get an actress from Seinfeld?
Yeah, so Elaine from Seinfeld. Yeah, she looks old, I must say. She doesn't look like she used to. And she's also in other things. She's in Veep, which is a really popular show. So yeah, it was good. And it seems like her intentions are somewhat bad. She gives him a mysterious card that's blank that has her details on it somewhere hidden in it, and says that she can help him, and that mentions the fact that the shield it doesn't belong to the government. And so I guess there's going to be some kind of involvement with her and John in the next episode, and maybe she's the power broker.
Anything's possible.
What other scenes have we got? So we have so Sam after that returns home. Tell me about the whole sequence of him being at home. What happens?
Basically, when he finishes with Isaiah, he gives his sister a call and says, "I'm coming home." And then when he wakes up, he tells his sister, "Oh, the conversation with Isaiah, it's upset me." And then he has a conversation with the boat, and then his sister is saying, "Oh, we can't get it sold, we need to upgrade it, we need to improve it." And then Sam's like, "Oh, you know," and while she's doing that, she's making lunch, and then she tells her son to give some to someone else, and I guess next door neighbor.
Yeah, I think there must be 2 kids in their school, and they mention about their parents not getting up before midday, so they don't make them lunch. So
yeah,
I don't know what that's meant to imply. And then it gives Sam the idea of, people in this town owe us favours, because Mum and Dad used to do everything for people in this town, and makes a few calls, and people all show up in droves to help with the boat, and someone even shows up with a new motor.
Yeah. And then Bucky shows up. And then it's like, "Oh, how are we going to lift this?" And then Bucky with his good arm just lifts it.
Yeah, he's strong enough just to pick up this heavy motor. And then he stays around and helps do up the boat, which is quite a cool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you saying about that before to me? What were your thoughts on the scene?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It was good for the character development, but I don't know, I don't know about yourself, but it was like with the sister, back in episode 1, she was like, "Oh, you know, her main goal was to sell it," and now she changed her mind pretty quickly. It's like, "Oh, we must keep it now." And Sam was the one that wanted to sell, and then he's like, "Oh, you're on my side now."
I guess it's that thought of maybe after seeing the community help and seeing what it meant to the community, that we assume that changed her mind. And I guess for the sake of the show, don't really care what they do with the boat. It was just a cool scene to show that superheroes have lives outside of their duties, and that they have everyday struggles.
Team bonding exercise.
Yeah, it was good. You see them kind of become friends, and they're having a drink at the end, and he stays over at the house. And
we see him bring the favour they was talking about in Wakanda in the box.
Yeah, what are you thinking's in that box?
Probably an upgrade suit to do with Captain America, or hopefully his own suit. Because he's his own person.
Is the original suit Wakandan or not?
I assume Wakandan technology.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether they had made the original suit he wore, or whether it was something to do with the...
I think the original one is US military, and this one is Wakandan technology.
Okay, which might give him that extra strength or whatever he might need to actually be a Captain America. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a suit that's in some way Captain America inspired. I'm sure the answer's out there. I'm sure in the comic books this has happened, but for the sake of not ruining it and spoiling it, I don't really want to find out. I'll wait to the episode.
And then John Walker also goes to his friend's family house and tells them about what's happened to his friend, and then the family is obviously mourning, and then they ask, "Oh, was the person that you killed the killer?" And we know as the audience that's no, but he tells them yes.
Yeah, and he's kind of justifying his actions as being good, and the family, I don't know, kind of make out like he's a hero for what he did. For revenging their son's death. But then it's just that whole idea of seeking revenge opposed to doing what's right, which isn't kind of what superheroes tend to do. They tend to like to put people in prison and make them serve justice opposed to just killing people. And from there, what else are we left with?
Basically Bucky and Sam go to the house, and then they throw the Captain America shield.
Yeah, they conveniently keep throwing out these trees, and it always seems to bounce off each one perfectly and come straight back to them. And Sam surprisingly is very good at throwing and catching the shield.
And then Sam gives this heart to heart when he says, "You need to stop letting people make your decisions and tell you people." And this is the same when Sam brings up that you need to, out of one person in your book, you need to tell, and what's coming back to episode 1 when he with the old man and his son, what's coming back to that?
Yeah, so he says that if there's anyone out there you can bring closure to, you should provide it. Because he said, saying sorry is one thing, but you need to make an impact on these people's lives. So it's set it up for him to go back to this old man, which I think we'll see next episode, whether it's the starting thing or the finishing thing, but I think it'll be a part of the last episode. And then kind of Sam decides that he wants to be Captain America. And then tell us about the training montage.
Basically he throws the shield and then he can't catch it. What makes when he was doing it with Bucky kind of confusing, did he do the training montage first and then when he was doing it with Bucky he was good? Like, it kind of makes those two scenes not make sense.
I think that that's meant to be the intention, but if they show the montage first then it doesn't make sense. Do we assume that he's been training, he has the heart-to-heart with Bucky, and then he reveals what his intentions are to Bucky, and then they show the montage so that it doesn't ruin the surprise, but then it's not in order? Yeah, so we see him doing some push-ups and some running and throwing and catching the shield and doing unnecessary flips after he throws the shield, then does a few flips and then catches it, which I don't know what the point of the flipping is. Is that meant to be him dodging people trying to fight him?
Legs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but somehow he now thinks he's fit to be Captain America, even though he probably couldn't beat the Wakandans in a fight. And heading towards the end of the episode with that, there's only a few more scenes. So flag smashes. This is where it kind of leaves us at the end of the episode and builds up to the last. So what's going on with them?
Well, their first scene was going back to where we saw Zemo give the candy to the girl, and where their base was, they see evacuated, and then the leader's like, "Oh, we got to act now."
And then they somehow get from there to New York in secret.
Yeah, she's on the park, and then they're dealing with the wrestler. I can't think of his names. It was like RPG or something, or like I can't think of. I don't know his name is in the show, but he's a former UFC fighter, and he was in the first scene, and he shows up with something which I assume is like a weapon or a bomb, and I can't remember what he said, but he's like, he just wants revenge on someone. Is it Falcon? He wants revenge on Falcon. Is that for blowing up his friends or something in the first episode? I would assume for taking the refugee they had for.
So they've set up that there's this meeting with the GRC in New York where they're going to decide with the world leaders if they're going to, what they're going to do with all these refugees, and the flag smashers have this idea that they're going to somehow hijack it, which we assume with a bomb or a weapon of some sort. and then they use this app. So tell us about what happens to the app.
Basically, while they're having the conversation, Katie, the leader, basically, I don't know if it was a phone or smartwatch or something, but some sort of technology. She activates it, and then you see all the people in the park mostly like stand up, and then it's like, we're ready.
Yeah, they start to stand up and walk to her, but they're already in the park, so something had told them to go to the park, and then ordered the notification, let them know to come and stand around her. Like, I don't really know, but I guess it was to show that they have a lot of support. They're not the only ones out there, and that they have some strength. And fortunately, some of the people in her little group happen to also work as security at the GRC meeting. So, which then, what happens there at the meeting?
Well, while they're having the meeting, the American politicians like, oh, we need to get them to different parts of the world, the refugees, and then the other leaders are like, oh, how is that going to all happen? And then you think some of the other politicians are on their side, like, and then the blackout happens, and then while that's going on, Sam's friend is basically like telling him he's worked it out. Basically in Europe, this is the pings that we got, and then he's saying, oh, he doesn't know if they use a VPN or what they use, and then, oh, it just happened in New York.
Yeah, so then I think Sam at that time's also watching the news and see them talking about that there's this meeting and they're going to vote on what they're going to do with the refugees. So he puts two and two together. And then we go back to the meeting and we see them. As you said, some of the leaders are saying, oh, we've got military ready to ship out the refugees, let's make this happen. And then there's other leaders that are like, no, we don't have capacity. So
yeah, not all politicians are evil, what the Flag Smashers are saying.
Yeah, so you can see why the Flag Smashers are angry, because even their own leaders are like, we don't want the refugees. So refugees, they're just stuck, they can't do anything. And then they turn the lights off and hijack their screens, and they kind of left at that. We don't know what they're doing, but I'm sure we'll find out next episode.
You can somewhat relate to the Flag Smashers, but some of the politicians were actually helping, so it's like, are you going to kill all the politicians for having opinions?
Yeah, and I think their hatred shouldn't be directed at the politicians. It should be directed at the politicians, not the people.
Yeah.
Because they've killed some innocent people because they're like, oh, well, they shouldn't be here anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what confuses me. They don't care about killing people that return from the blip, but yet they want to save the refugees, which are people that return from the blip. So it seems like I don't really know who they like and hate. They tend to like refugees, they hate politicians, but then they don't care about killing people that they don't think deserve to come back. So do they want the refugees to be returned, or do they want the refugees to die? Like, I don't really know what their intentions are. I think they deserved a bit more backstory to explain this.
Yeah, because they are an interesting organisation. It's just, I think episode 4 was their main character development episode, but it was kind of not as interesting as the main two characters.
No, I totally agree.
And the one scene that we get with Sharon Carter is she's in her building and you see two pictures, and then she's having a conversation with someone. She's like, and she seems to have powers, so I think they're alluding to that she might be the power broker. Well, I hope she's kind of not, because...
Yeah, well, I wonder what her intention would be, because
yeah,
she didn't seem too upset about why would she lead them to where the serum was?
Yeah.
If she's the power broker, she wants the serum. Why wouldn't she be tagging along with them to find Carly? Because if she was the power broker, she'd want Carly dead. So I don't know. Well, if she's the power broker, if she must have some really odd motive that we don't know yet. Which is kind of leading up to two villains. We've got the Flag Smashers, and then we've got whatever the power broker wants, and then there's this other lady that's helping John Walker, and then there's John Walker. So how many villains can there be in this one last episode? Yeah, there's a lot to unpack when the series finishes. And
we get our first ending.
yeah, tell us about that. Hopefully everyone's seen it and haven't skipped past.
Well, the first ending cutscene in the show, we get to see John Walker building his own shield. You said it's wielding?
Yeah, he's like welding it. You see him weld, and he's
using his 3 Medal of Honors.
Yeah, but having done
painting.
some metal fabrication myself, I don't think it's that easy. I don't know if he has a background in it, and how strong's it going to be, because it's not going to be made of vibranium.
Will you kind of roll your eyes or cringe if it actually does hold up to the original shield?
I will, unless they explain it. Like, they might say that maybe this lady does have that. So do we assume the lady from Seinfeld, that she's helped him out and she may have access to vibranium, but then would he have the tools to weld vibranium and cut vibranium? Because if vibranium's so strong, you'd think you'd need Wakandan technology to cut it. So, don't know. We'll find out.
Do you like that he's making his own shield, or would you prefer him making an axe or something else? Or?
Oh, I think making a shield makes more sense for the story and it's cool, but you wouldn't. Like, the shield is it's a defensive weapon, which makes sense why Captain America had it, because he was about
a defensive.
He's about being defending people. Where this new captain seems like he wants to kill, like he killed someone with a shield. Like, why even have the shield? Just get an axe or a sword or something. So it doesn't really make sense for him to have a shield. But yeah.
So yeah, it was cool getting our first ending cutscene. What's your expectations for episode 6? Because it's the last of the episode. Do you think they'll try and get a season 2, or more end it in a way that we'll see these characters in a different Marvel show or movie?
I think we'll get a conclusion. I think this is definitely a one-off series. It will somewhat tie into movies that are coming up, but we'll get a good conclusive ending. I think there's a lot for them to try and squeeze in, so I think it's going to be a really, really good episode. Yeah, it's been a good series so far. I probably wouldn't mind a few more episodes, maybe unpack a few of the things that have happened so far, but 6 episodes, I guess that's what we get.
And I guess, do you think the ending will be disappointing, or do you see it kind of diving off? Because so far it's been really good.
No, I don't think it'll be disappointing. I reckon it's going to have a lot of open endings that will lead on to something extra. Just like they did with WandaVision, they tend to... It's a very Marvel thing. Like, that's why the end credit scenes are a thing, because you know that's always implying what's going to happen next, that there's always a next. They don't ever close a book on anything.
No.
So this series will end with a conclusion to this storyline, but it may not be a conclusion to these villains. Like, the Flag Smashers may still live on, but they'll fight them and defeat them in some way in this series. But they always set it up so that things could continue on.
And I guess Zemo was only in it for one scene. Do you see him kind of escaping, or...
Probably not. Unless there's some storyline in the comic books where he comes back or does something in Wakanda, I think that's kind of him. That's enough for him. I think he goes to Wakanda, and I think they said they were going to put him down by the river or something, which must have been where they kept Bucky, and like make him do chores and work on a farm or something. So I think that's probably the last we hear of Zemo for a while. He doesn't have much to offer. Like, he himself doesn't have powers. He's
just smart.
Yeah, he had knowledge to offer them in this series, but beyond that, he was no use to them.
He's just a smart, intelligent person. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Thanks for commenting on the video. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.